before I get into the review, I just want to thank those of you who have already subscribed to this channel. I like making YouTube videos best, although I've found more of a home on TikTok so far, and this is really where I want to be long term because I get to speak a bit more freely and I'm not as constrained by the algorithm. So thank you for joining, and I hope you're enjoying the longer content that I'm putting out over here on YouTube. I finished The Passion According to G.H. by Clarice Lispector a couple of months ago now, and it was actually one of you all who recommended it to me. I had no idea that this book existed until I got on YouTube and TikTok, which is pretty cool. And I'm actually finding more and more that books that you all recommend to me I find to be most interesting. I'm trusting my own instincts less and less, and I'm more intrigued by those books that you all most passionately recommend. So please do continue to send them my way, whether that's in the comments or otherwise. The Passion According to G.H. is an intensely introspective novel. The narrator is going through something of a personal crisis, and there's not too much present action in the story. It goes something along the lines of an artist goes into a servant's quarters and discovers something that brings out feelings of deep disgust and really opens up her sense of self in a whole new way. The best time to read this book is if in your own personal life you're going through a bit of a transition, whether that's positive or negative, and you're starting to question your own internal philosophy. First and foremost, I think this book is pretty philosophical. It's clear that Lispector has some pretty unique demands as far as what her own prose should read like. She's not trying to keep you reading at length. She's not doing anything gimmicky to keep you engaged. This is a book that is pretty upfront about what it's going to be about. And by that, I mean the sentences don't lead you astray at the beginning. They're pretty deep and full of meaning from the start. And if you pick this book up and read a couple of pages, which is how I would recommend that you approach it to decide if you're going to read it, you will very quickly find whether it's for you in this moment or something that you would like to read later. I would highly recommend Lispector to anyone who considers themselves a serious reader. It's kind of wild to me that she had never showed up on my radar before. In addition to the philosophy that kind of powers the entire narrative, I also really liked the structure of this book. Each section ends with the same sentence that starts the next section. So as you're kind of in this really cerebral space going through her works, it's kind of poetic. It has almost a poetic effect. You almost get lost, but then you get sort of reined back in, and the subject usually changes a little bit as you go from section to section. So I'll give you an example from towards the beginning so that nothing is really given away. So this is on page 24 leading into page 25. Page 24 ends with, "I'll have every appearance of a failure and only I will know if that was the failure I needed." And then the next section starts with, "Only I will know if that was the failure I needed. I finally got up from the breakfast table, da 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 da." And it keeps going. The entire book is less than 200 pages. It did take me a little bit longer to read it than I thought it was going to. I figured this would be the sort of book that I could knock out in two or 3 hour sessions if I just really focused in on it, but it ended up taking me like a week and a half to get through, and probably 4 or 5 different main sittings with, a couple of 10 to 15 minute chunks scattered in here and there as well. This definitely isn't a beach read, and if you're in a really fragile spot mentally, I definitely wouldn't recommend that you go ahead and dive into this unless that's really your thing and you want to kind of plumb the depths of whatever you're going through. It's powerful, and it will probably make you question your sense of self and purpose and your goals in life. But that's a beautiful thing, and I love it when prose is able to have that powerful of an effect. And lastly, just to give you a little bit about the author, she spent most of her life in Brazil, though she was originally from the Ukraine, I believe. And then she died in Rio de Janeiro in the late 70s. So this isn't a new novel. It stood the test of time, and I think that's another thing that it has going for it, is that it's still very much so mentioned and shared among literary circles today. Those are my thoughts about the book. I am really curious to hear from those of you who have read this. I really want to get your take on it, see kind of how that aligns with my own. This is a book that I've really enjoyed discussing with people so far after finishing. So really looking forward to what you all have to say in the comments. If you got something out of this video, a like goes a long way, but no pressure.